I've completed my 30th year of working with that organization, and I have witnessed the evolution of the government-to-government relationship between the tribe and the state of Oregon, and in many ways am encouraged by the development of that relationship. I am committed to see that relationship flourish. Over the last 6 months, the issue revolving around the state of Oregon's ownership of the Elliott Forest and its purpose in supporting the Common School Fund have been tied up in a political debate that has failed to tell another side of the story, a story that is political in another way and culturally significant to the Oregon tribes. As I have addressed you before, the Cow Creek tribe sought a partner in Lone Rock to respond to the state's request for proposals to purchase the Elliott Forest. We did this because the Oregon State Land Board had declared that transferring ownership was in the best interest to support the Common School Fund, which the timber helped fund. We responded to the state's proposal because we wanted to make sure that Elliott would remain in local ownership, meaning owned by an entity with connection to the land and with the history of land management that aligned with Oregon values of responsible and sustainable forest management. There are no other entities in Oregon with stronger credentials in ecologically responsible land management than the Oregon tribes. It is because of the tribes that the conditions of Oregon's forest land at statehood were pristine, bountiful, and resilient. Yet, over 150 years ago, nearly every Western Oregon tribe was displaced from its homeland. Every acre of Western Oregon, including what now comprises Elliott State Forest, was taken from the native people. Since that time, the federal government ignored our treaty, withdrew our reservation that was a treaty promise, and eventually terminated its relationship with the Western Oregon tribes. The government eviscerated our land base based on the political pressure of the time. Later, the Western Oregon tribal governments were restored to a proper recognition by the federal government through remedial congressional actions. Despite restored relations, our tribes still struggle today to rebuild our culture and our communities without our homelands. And this is why we want to partner with the state of Oregon on the transfer of the Elliott. We wanted to restore our land base, diversify our economy, while also protecting a valuable resource for future generations. We too breathe the air. We drink the water. A healthy forest is important to us. But we understand now that opportunity is not an option any longer. We appreciate that the membership of the State Land Board has changed since the initial proposal to transfer ownership of the Elliott Forest over 2 years ago. We also appreciate that you as elected officials in the executive branch must respond to and represent the constituents of the citizens of Oregon that you serve. We hope that you can appreciate that as a sovereign people, that the elected officials of the Cow Creek tribe are in the same position. We too must represent our tribal members and their long-term interests through our economic development policies, healthcare policies, natural resource policies, and education policies. We too must identify ways to support the services our members need, such as elder care, housing, healthcare, and transportation. We too must seek the best way to help all of our members achieve economic stability, which in part is why we sought to purchase the Elliott Forest. We continue to work through our disappointment as well as frustration with the process of how our time and limited resources over the past 2 years were dedicated to responding to what we believed was the state's intent. Regrettably, many in our tribe have grown conditioned to the disappointment of government treatment of Native people. Many have also become conditioned to the dominance of urban areas, driving politics and policies without consideration of the impact or needs of rural parts of the state. I make these points only to help us learn from this process together and share our perspective and to help guide us going forward. Going forward, I do hope that we can rebuild trust in the government-to-government relationship, not only on potential forest management and land policy, but across the intersection of tribal relationships and our governance rights as a sovereign nation within the state of Oregon. I also hope that we can work with you, government to government, to further understand the needs of and advance opportunities for rural Oregon. As First Oregonians, we love the land that comprise Oregon. We want all Oregonians to be successful. We are a proud people. We're proud of our heritage and our history. Our commitment is eternal, as tribes have been and will continue to be here forever. Our commitment to you is to work together, tribal governments in the state of Oregon, to help all of Oregon thrive. Thank you for this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rondeau. We appreciate you coming for us today, and I personally appreciate your frankness. Any other comments, Secretary Richardson?
Yes. Mr. Rondeau, the protocols that you have met provided for conservation, for access, for a rational approach to harvesting only those trees which are commercially harvestable, protecting old growth, and protecting endangered species, which you've done forever.